He followed the sound no one else could hear, a faint resonance that seemed to ripple through the air like a secret pulse, faint yet persistent, calling to him with a clarity that defied explanation. It began late one night when the town was wrapped in the hush of deep sleep, streets empty, windows dark, and the world itself holding its breath. The sound was subtle at first, a barely perceptible hum that lingered at the edge of hearing, just under the threshold of normal perception, the kind that most would dismiss as the settling of old buildings or the soft sigh of wind through empty alleyways. But he could not ignore it. Every fiber of his being seemed to respond, a quiet insistence drawing him away from the comfort of his bed, out into the night where shadows pooled and stretched beneath the dim glow of streetlights. His apartment, once a haven of warmth and routine, now felt claustrophobic, the walls pressing in as though urging him to step outside and seek the source of this intangible summons. He dressed quickly, quietly, mindful of the sleeping world beyond his door. Each step toward the outer hallway, down the creaking stairwell, and out into the street seemed amplified by the stillness, as if the night itself were listening. The sound became clearer with every stride, weaving around the familiar cityscape, threading through lampposts, curving around corners, slipping through narrow alleyways, elusive yet tangible. It was not musical, nor mechanical, nor entirely natural. It carried within it a subtle harmony, a cadence almost mathematical in precision, resonating within his chest and mind simultaneously. He knew, with an unshakable certainty, that it was not something anyone else would perceive. No one else in the quiet town stirred as he moved. No dogs barked, no lights flickered, no whispers followed him. He walked alone, yet guided by a force that felt both intimate and vast, as though the night itself had chosen him for a purpose yet unrevealed. The streets eventually gave way to the outskirts, where the familiar urban lines blurred into the raw, unshaped earth at the edge of the forest. Trees loomed like silent sentinels, their branches arching into the sky, and the wind hummed softly through their leaves, harmonizing faintly with the sound that had drawn him here. The forest was old, older than anyone could remember, its roots tangled and deep, its canopy thick and shadowed even under moonlight. He paused at its threshold, inhaling the cool, earthy scent of moss and damp bark, and felt the resonance intensify, wrapping around him like a living entity. With careful steps, he entered the forest, each movement silent against the carpet of leaves and pine needles, feeling the vibrations grow stronger, almost tactile, as though the forest floor itself was vibrating in rhythm with the elusive sound. The deeper he ventured, the more the ordinary world seemed to dissolve. Moonlight filtered through the trees, casting fractured patterns of silver and shadow, the air thick with the subtle perfume of earth and resin, and the only certainty he possessed was that the sound was real, and it was waiting for him. Hours passed, though he could not tell the time. The forest shifted subtly around him, shadows elongating and contracting, leaves rustling in patterns that seemed deliberate enough to suggest a consciousness guiding him. He felt an energy in the air, something ancient and intelligent, brushing against the edges of perception, and with each step, the sound became more distinct. It no longer hovered at the periphery, but seemed to anchor itself somewhere ahead, just beyond the reach of his vision. His senses heightened. Every snap of a twig, every whisper of wind, every distant owl call seemed to synchronize with the resonance, creating a symphony of subtle signals that only he could decode. He realized that he was no longer merely following a sound. He was following a presence, one that had chosen to reveal itself only to him, and that realization filled him with a mixture of awe and trepidation. As he rounded a bend in the forest path, the trees opened onto a clearing he had never seen before. though he was certain the forest had always existed in this shape. It was circular, almost perfectly so, with mossy stones forming a rough perimeter, and the air within shimmered faintly, as if lit from an unseen source. The resonance pulsed stronger here, vibrating through the ground, through the air, through him. He stopped, uncertain whether to proceed or retreat, and noticed the temperature shift, a gentle warmth that contrasted with the cool night, carrying with it the faint metallic scent of ozone, like the moments before a storm. Then he saw it. At the center of the clearing hovered a light, not the light of a lantern, nor of fire, nor of any earthly origin. It was pure, crystalline, and constantly shifting in color and form, sometimes silver, sometimes pale blue, sometimes a deep, impossible violet. Its edges were soft yet defined, and as he watched, it pulsed in time with the resonance that had guided him here. He felt drawn toward it, his body moving almost without conscious thought, and as he approached, he realized that the light was not merely a visual phenomenon. It was alive, conscious, aware. It responded to his presence, curving and stretching subtly, the way a sentient organism might acknowledge the approach of a companion. The first contact was subtle. A tendril of energy extended outward, brushing against his hand as he reached toward it. The sensation was indescribable, a mixture of warmth, vibration, and understanding, as though a language older than speech was being conveyed directly into his consciousness. Images flashed in his mind, stars collapsing and rebirthing, planets spinning silently in endless night, constellations forming and dissolving in geometric perfection, civilizations rising and fading, all accompanied by a profound awareness that he was witnessing something not meant for ordinary perception. He staggered backward slightly, overwhelmed, yet a calm settled over him, an inexplicable trust that this encounter was intentional, benevolent, and transformative. The light began to communicate, not through words but through the deep, resonant impressions it left upon his mind. It conveyed the sense of vastness, of existence beyond the human scale, of knowledge held in forms both abstract and profoundly structured. He saw himself as a point in a web of cosmic interconnections, each thread alive, vibrating with subtle harmonies, each life, each event, each molecule a note in a vast, ongoing symphony. He felt his own limitations dissolve temporarily, his ego slipping away as he perceived the intricate choreography of the universe in ways that defied memory or linear thought. And yet, amidst the grandeur, there was intimacy, a recognition that he, a single human being, had been chosen to witness, to remember, to carry this understanding back into the ordinary world. As he absorbed the vision, he noticed the edges of the clearing shifting subtly. The mossy stones began to glow faintly, tracing intricate, alien patterns that pulsed in harmony with the light. Tiny motes of luminescence hovered in the air, spinning and twisting, tracing invisible paths, forming shapes that reminded him of both mathematics and music, geometry and melody. He realized that the entire clearing was alive, not merely receptive but interactive, a living interface between his consciousness and something beyond the normal confines of space and time. He felt a profound humility and gratitude, recognizing that he was not in control, and that control was unnecessary. Presence and observation were enough. Time became meaningless. Moments stretched and folded, overlapping in complex rhythms. He experienced what felt like days and seconds, centuries in heartbeats, witnessing the evolution of galaxies, the birth of stars, the silent passing of civilizations, and yet always returned to the light, always centered in the clearing, always conscious of the resonance that had drawn him here. And through it all, he felt the message and understanding that the universe is alive in ways we barely comprehend, that consciousness extends beyond bodies and planets, and that moments of awareness like this one are rare gifts, glimpses into the mechanics of existence itself. Then, as suddenly as it had begun, the resonance began to fade. The light contracted, folding in upon itself, rising higher into the air before dimming gently into near invisibility. The clearing returned to its ordinary darkness, though faint patterns lingered on the mossy stones, imperceptible except in peripheral vision. The air retained the faint metallic scent, and a residual warmth hummed faintly in the ground beneath his feet. He felt his heartbeat return to normal, his breath slowing, and the overwhelming flood of cosmic knowledge recede into a deep, lingering understanding that he could carry forward. He turned and retraced his steps through the forest, every leaf, every twig, every shadow now tinged with new significance. The resonance was gone, yet a memory of it lingered, a hum beneath the surface of thought that would never leave him. The city beyond the forest re-emerged gradually, streets and buildings normal, yet subtly changed in perception, as though his mind had expanded to include dimensions previously unnoticed. He arrived home before sunrise, exhausted yet exhilarated, the ordinary world awaiting him, yet refracted now through an awareness that nothing was truly ordinary. In the days and weeks that followed, he noticed subtle shifts in himself. Sounds once ignored became rich with texture, patterns in light revealed new forms, and moments of stillness carried profound significance. He never spoke fully of the experience, knowing that words could not convey it without diminishing its essence. Yet in his art, his writing, his movement through the world, he carried the echo of the light, the resonance of the clearing, the knowledge that reality is layered, infinite, and alive. Occasionally, he would pause, tilting his head as though listening, because he knew, intuitively, irrevocably, that somewhere, just beyond perception, the resonance still existed, waiting, subtle, patient, ready to guide those who could hear it once more. The encounter changed him entirely, though subtly. The town around him remained unaware, wrapped in the comforting rhythm of everyday life, oblivious to the cosmic symphony that had brushed against one of its inhabitants. He moved among them, ordinary in appearance, extraordinary in awareness, and though he could not share the details, he understood that some truths are meant to be carried quietly, reverently, allowing the world to remain as it is while quietly expanding the consciousness of those who have been touched. In the quiet hours, when the moon casts fractured shadows across the streets and the wind hums through alleys, he listens still, attuned to the resonance that only he can hear, a sound that is not of this world but speaks to everything within it, a reminder that the universe is alive, attentive, and astonishingly intimate. He followed the sound no one else could hear, and in doing so, discovered a truth beyond the veil of ordinary perception, a luminous, living resonance that reminded him that the cosmos is not silent, that consciousness extends beyond mortal experience, and that wonder waits patiently for those willing to listen, with hearts open and still.